Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Truth Will Set You Free show. I'm your host, Linda Diane Wattley, and this show was brought to you by TLBTV and the Liberty Beacon Project. And I am, as usual, excited about my guests. I have two special guests today. We are excited about actually coming together today because I'm in the United States and you are in the United Kingdom.
Yep, that's right.
You're in the United Kingdom?
Yeah.
Wow. Do y'all see each other?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I can see only you.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you today. I'm going to be a little slick today because I know I can't pronounce Gabriella's last name. So I'm just going to say, hey, Gabrielle, introduce yourself to us, please.
Hello. My name is Gabriella Guglielminotti Trivel, and I'm originally from Italy, but I've been living in the United Kingdom for 20 years next month, so quite a while.
Wow.
So just in a nutshell, I am a women coach and I educate women about their body, their mind, and especially I do my best to make women become their best friends with their female cycle, either called menstruation, feminine cycle, or derogatively called the curse. So I make the curse a bliss. This is what I do. And thank you for having me here today again.
Thank you for coming back and bringing another beautiful soul for us to learn about. Susie, tell us about you.
Hi, everyone. Oh, my goodness. Well, my passion is photography. And my passion within that photography is to enable and empower women to feel better about themselves. This really began when I was doing my photography degree as a mature student. I graduated in 2008 when I was 50. And I discovered that this is what I really wanted to do. I only went to find out how to take better photos of my two beautiful daughters. And this is where I've ended up with a photography as a career.
And it's amazing, as you can see, both of them have a compassion for women.
Very much so.
Women. And this seems to be a growing thing among women now. I don't know, do you think the breast cancer thing may have had some bearing on how women became more bonded? Because it was a time women really wasn't as close as they are now. What do you think about that?
I think that in a way we need to work together more because we don't have the communities and in our culture, we don't have the extended family living close by. We're now so global and I think many women can feel very alone. And that's why I started my book project, which I published last year, but which I began as my second project of my degree 12 years ago. And I just like helping people to feel better about themselves.
And Gabrielle, what made you really take a strong interest in the menstrual cycle?
Okay, mine is a personal thing, really, simply because it all started for me because I had for a period an erratic cycle, and as I had been into alternative therapies and alternative medicine for a few decades, I knew that allopathic medicine wouldn't help, and so I kind of expressed a desire to be enlightened in this department. And the enlightenment did come. And so it was a personal reason, really. But then from there, it took a life of its own, meaning I realized that actually there's so much more to it. And also is the one thing that, makes women be sisters, because we all bleed for at least 3 decades of our life. And in that period of time, we go through the same kind of motions, experiences, etc. So I think for a world, the 21st century, where women are still so much apart, yes, I agree, coming together more than in the past. But I think it's important to remember this, because it's something so biological, so grounding for women, and it can be something that make us feeling closer to one another. And I think it's what is needed right now. I mean, there is a flourishing increase of red tents around the world, which, especially in the States, I have to say, and that makes my heart sing, to be honest. But I think there is still a long way to go.
So did you feel that women actually are drawn to you for that kind of support? For that help in that area of their life, did you still have a good client, supporters coming to you for, to keep you going with that ideal?
Well, I have to be honest here. I think that is still such a taboo subject that is not mainstream yet. We are just in the beginning, at the cusp of things moving. Especially in the States, I think menstruation is something it appeared in the media a few times already last year and the year before, here as well, but it's still a long way to go, I think, before women are talking about it confidently and as something positive. And also, I have to add something else. I've been running a women's circle since July 2014. So it's over 3 years now. This July would be 4 years. And I have to say, in all honesty, I do it because I totally believe in this, but I can't say it's as successful as I would like it to be, or definitely by far it's not yet. So I think we are not, it's not a mainstream thing either. And I'm talking about Red Tent, or I call it Women's Circle of Wisdom. I mean, it's just a simple thing. On the new moon, women coming together and just to sit together and share our own wisdom. It should be something, I mean, in my world, quite normal, but it's not yet.
Right, because that's a delicate area. A lot of people don't carry that conversation. I think the last time I had a normal conversation was in school. And Susie, you are an amazing photographer. How did you get interested in bringing out the sensuality in women? For all the type of photos you took, you kind of really seem to enjoy that more so than
I feel when I'm doing boudoir photography, obviously as a one-to-one with a woman, although I have my makeup artist there with me as an assistant, I just feel I'm in my zone. I feel that's where I belong. And so therefore the connection that I make with these women happens quite quickly, because my absolute interest is really in helping these women tap into themselves. I don't want them to feel like they have to be nude. There's nudity, I said no nipples necessary.
I know, it's beautiful. I've seen some of your work. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I think it's also, I use natural or available light, so there's no flash lighting. I don't even use a studio. I use beautiful hotel rooms and venues, because I want the whole experience to be so safe, pampering, and non-judgmental. And so why did I get into doing this? I think the whole thing probably centers around, excuse me, my lack of worth as I grew up. Even until last year, did I find my real worth? And the impact that has on a life of self-worth can be, especially with relationships, can be really very challenging. And so I began, when I got my degree, I began by doing weddings. And I fell in love with doing weddings. It's such a joy and a privilege and a responsibility and jolly hard work. And I do very few now because I I earned the reputation, I think, when I did pre-wedding shoots, or I just helped the bride, who obviously is the centre of attention, feel okay with that. Because, again, British women, there aren't very many of us who like being in front of the camera, myself included. So there's a lot of empathy there. And so I started to do bridal boudoir shoots, and then I just wanted to take this further, and so that's my area of expertise, I suppose, because I'm qualified as a photographer, but not as a counsellor. Although people say to me, "Oh gosh, you should be a counsellor." Well, I suppose just a listening ear, and also just making someone feel good about their wobbly bits, their stretch marks, their cancer scars. Some people say the experience of the shoot has changed their life, and that, I think, the key to that is because I help women tap into themselves rather than stick their legs up the wall and worry about the lingerie and there's nothing going on in the eyes. Everything's going on in the eyes because it's coming from in here.
Well, Susie, she said that women in the UK do not too much care for the camera. Are you pretty much like that also?
Who me?
I mean,
yes.
I'm looking at her calling her Susie.
Yeah. I'm not keen, although I did have a boudoir. I had my hair and makeup done, and my makeup artist took some photos, and my daughter took some photos, and one of them is on the cover of the book, and I call it my power pick, and I can happily say I love it. And that for a woman to say of herself in an image that she loves it, I think is really important and very powerful. I remember some time ago, a friend said to me, "Susie, do you never look at yourself in the mirror and smile?" Quite a few years ago. And I said, "No, why would I do that?" Well, I do now. But yes, Gabriella, how about you with a photograph?
Well, I had a wonderful experience with you taking picture for the book. Because I wrote a chapter in the Susie anthology that she published last year. And, well, I'm Italian, so I don't have a British background, but about this subject of being in front of the camera and feeling okay with it, I have to say this. It didn't come natural. And only now that I'm in my 50s, I can say, I'm starting being okay with it, and I can see it from the pictures, either beautiful pictures as Susie took of me, but also my partners. Doesn't matter. But I think is because there is a reflection, as Susie said, of me tapping into myself and allowing my soul to come to the forefront. And that's captured by the camera. What is, I'm guessing here, but it's that when you allow your soul to come to the forefront, so showing your face, your smile, your eyes, whatever, you know, your fears cannot be there. So as you can't cry and be desperate and feel joy inside, and so it's the same. I this is my take, but I have to say that I think another thing that happened that helped me out was looking at my pictures and shrinking and going through it. It's the same thing like feeling the fear and doing it anyway, you know. It's the same thing for the voice. When I started doing interviews a few years ago, I hated it, and because I needed to edit it and I did it all myself, it was therapeutical, very therapeutical to listen to it, even when you feel, it helps you to accept yourself. And it's the same, I think, for the voice, the look, whatever you express, you know. And it's the result, more than our upbringing, the fact that women have been repressed for too long, collectively. So, you know, I think we carry this in our DNA, whatever is our lineage.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
was just going to say, Gabriella, you speak so beautifully and eloquently. So clearly that's come with experience, and maybe acceptance of ourselves comes with the wisdom of maturity, as long as we can feel good about ourselves. But I love the way you articulate your point and yourself. I think it's beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Well, I can honestly say I never thought I could be able to do anything like this ever. And I am still a work in progress, as they say, but I'm getting better. And when I listen to the recordings of my interviews, I don't shrink anymore. I actually sometimes I feel, oh, maybe something happened along those decades that I've been working hard on myself, trying to accept myself. It takes time.
Yeah, Susie, what do you think? Because I think you might can answer this question, because you can see that Gabriella, she's sharing her soul with us, her struggles. And in the struggles that she is sharing, they're so common in women. Do you think there's ever a woman who doesn't go through that hurdle before they actually come to full bloom?
Probably not. I'm not sure that anybody has a charmed life. Even people who are seemingly have it all. I was fortunate to interview Caprice a couple of months ago for a digital magazine, and she gave so beautifully of her time, because I wanted to find out the woman within. The series is called The Woman Within, so not about her business or her modeling. I just wanted to find out what makes her tick and what makes these women tick, because the books, my Women of Spirit books, are all about uncelebrated women. And so for this, I just wanted to go a slightly different route. And no, she's, she's got a great life, but my goodness me, she certainly went through it. She still believes it's a man's world. And no, I don't think anybody has a charmed life. I think the difference with how you come through it, how you go from either not surviving to then thriving. And I think only when you are really thriving can you begin to give back and help other people. I think that depends on whether you accept that you're hurting or accept that things aren't right and choose to find help, because we can't do it all on our own. And that's the community thing, that's maybe the extended sisterhood, as Gabrielle calls it, and this year, of course, is a very, very powerful year. And I think it's the beginning of a new era for women. Gosh, I do hope so. I did read on International Women's Day website, there was a report done by somebody, not them, but it's a website worth looking at, that gender parity is going to take another 200 years. And I thought, oh my God, that's a long time.
What was that term you just said?
Gender parity, gender equality, really. In reality, they say will take another 200 years. Well, I'm not sure that it needs to take that long. I don't know how they came upon that long term, because I think actually if we really, really do all get together, I love Oprah. You have Oprah over there, and I watched her speech at the Golden Globe Awards with absolute joy when she said, speak your truth, share your story, because I thought, my goodness, my book started 12 years ago, and this is about telling stories. And so telling stories is so powerful. It just makes people feel not so alone.
Tell everybody the title of your book that you and Gabriella have shared together.
Sorry, say it again?
Tell them the title of the book that you and Gabriella shared together.
Yes.
Okay.
My book is called Women of Spirit. That's
Yeah.
my power pick. And it is a compilation of stories of women who have faced adversity and won. And the it's divided into 4 chapters because the different sorts of challenge, trauma or adversity, and they're all different, that we face. It's certainly not doom and gloom, although I have emails from people who've bought a copy and who say their jaw is literally dropping at the harrowing tales. But it's a beautiful book because, of course, there's always the ending where they are now thriving. And that's the important thing. And that's the inspiration. It's the enlightenment and the inspiration. And I do get very passionate about it. I hope I don't start to sort of preach, but I feel it's very powerful, and I want to take it far and wide. I really do, because these women are incredible. The women are giving so much by sharing their pain, Linda, because that's not easy. And, you know, your question earlier was about, do you think every woman goes through pain? Well, I would say so. But then the other thing is that there's different elements of pain. There's different types of pain. And there's a beautiful film with Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Winger called Shadowlands. And he gives a speech. It's a very tragic film. It's based on the story of life of C.S. Lewis. He gives a really beautiful speech in that film where he says you cannot measure someone else's pain. Because sometimes I would read a story and think, my God, I've been through nothing. But actually I have, and it really hurt at the time. And so there's no comparison. You know, you can't compare. You just have to get through it best you can. But it's better if you can find help. And, you know, I'm not a religious person. I do now believe in the universe and in energy, and that we are all connected by energy. And so I think maybe that's where the empathy comes in as well.
When I was asking that question, what my concern is there ever a time, have you ever met a person who, the ones that usually go through great pain, has a tremendous low self-esteem?
A lot of pain is caused by low self-esteem and women not valuing themselves enough and not knowing their real worth, and therefore not fulfilling their potential, but also allowing themselves to be treated badly because their boundaries are so fragile. And this was my story. I had a very low self-worth. I had very fragile boundaries. I attracted the wrong kind of partner. And of course, the trouble is with every wrong kind of partner, your worth spirals lower and lower. So, and until you actually take stock and begin to think, uh-oh, there's a lesson to be learned here. I've got to change things. I've got to change me because it's nobody else. Again, Will Smith, there's a Facebook post about, doesn't matter who's to blame, doesn't matter who hurt you, it doesn't matter what happened, you are the one responsible for your happiness. And it's quite true. You have to do it yourself. Well, you have to change your life by changing your response to things or by changing you. And, you know, you can't expect other people to do that. So I guess it's owning it. I keep thinking about women in the book and the things that they went through and how maybe they had an epiphany. For one woman, Helen Gabrielle, do you remember when she spoke at the book launch? She talked about it was her son who was devastated by what was happening between his parents, and that made her feel, I can't do this any longer, I have to get away. And so all sorts of things can trigger the turnaround. But you see, also it's a question of perception, because my growth marketer, she has a wonderful life, and I want her to be in the book because of what she went through with how she was born. I can't say too much in case she doesn't want to share, but and then having children, but she doesn't feel worthy of being in the book. But my goodness, her story is amazing. So yes, as I say, it's different kinds of challenges. One chapter is called "Failure is Not an Option," and that could be somebody who's built a business against all odds, or not taking any notice of people who said you can't do that, and they thought, I can.
So, Gabriella, how did you decide for your vast life? Because you do have a vast life of experiences. How did you narrow it down what you wanted to share in the book?
I think, like Susie said, when you've been through some grief, let's call it this way, some pain, and you haven't stopped there, but you kind of took stock of it, owned it, and turned it around. You realize the power of it. And so you realize that actually, if you share it, maybe it might awaken other sisters. In my book, Antarctic Odyssey, New Beginning, which is my first and only book so far, I mean, totally written by me, I shared my adventure post-divorce to Antarctica because for this purpose of sharing the story, hoping that will touch somebody else out there, as I was touched by other people, other people's stories, and unlucky times, etc. And when Susie asked me if I wanted to be part of that, of her anthology, Women of Spirit, I realized maybe I had a chance to share my personal story before the glory of going to Antarctica, which was actually what made me. And what do I mean with this? Well, for a well-educated woman coming from a kind of, not the third world, I come from Italy, a country theoretically civilized and with some wealth as heritage for many millennia. I was considering myself well sorted for life. I speak 4 languages, I got a degree, different diplomas, and so I thought I should be fine, but I wasn't. I ended up into a very abusive relationship. And we all know, mainly for experience, intimate relationship can be really yucky. Simply because they bring up the best and the worst in us and the partner, so all sorts of horrible things can happen, or wonderful things. And it's a major playground to grow, I would say. And so I thought, if I can share that, maybe with the wisdom of hindsight, and also my menstrual awareness, which I think, if I had it when I was young, if I had been handed over by elderly women, when I became of age, meaning I started menstruating and unfolding as a woman, I mean biologically, if some of those elder women had shared with me what I share with women these days, I think I would have grown up as a real woman. And by that I mean a woman who has got self-esteem and respects her inner authority. That's where the power lies. Your inner authority means that you respect yourself, and as a consequence you have boundaries. It's a normal thing. Because if you respect yourself, then you respect also others. But it means that you set a certain space around you where only if you say yes, people can come in. If you say no, it's a no. But how many of us were taught that when they were little? I think very few. I mean, I still have to find a woman who was taught that when she was little. I definitely didn't have any of that. And unfortunately, I learned it the hard way. And I have to say, going through the divorce, it was so far, I had many difficult experiences in my life, but that one was possibly the most difficult. And I think it was because it touched me deeply in my soul. It wasn't just the body, you know, and to come to resurrect as the phoenix does, you know, the mythical phoenix, which is this bird that dies and then resurrects from her ashes. It took me a long time. I did it, and so I know that other women can do it, and I know many women that have done that, but it's a real, it can be a real struggle, and it's a real proof of finding your inner authority. Nothing else can do it for you. So I think that's so major for women. We haven't had our inner authority validated by anything in the outside world for thousands of years. So girls, it's our time now, but we have to do some speaking.
And, you know, I read that book, and I have to say, you're right. It is a very powerful book. It's profound.
It is.
It's amazing. I was thinking, though, while I was reading, one of the main things that I noticed is the difficulty so many women had with their relationships with men.
Yeah.
Have any men read the book?
Yes, they have. Although I have to say, I don't believe they've read all the book, but they have read certain chapters. In fact, the designer of the cover dipped into a few chapters, and he emailed me and he said, Susie, I feel like I have to apologize on behalf of the male species. It makes me embarrassed to be a man. I mean, I must make the point here, Linda, that the book isn't anything to do with disrespecting or disliking men at all, because that's not what it's about. And in fact, I asked another man, do you think I need to say something about that? And he said, no, because why would you need to apologize for helping women? And so, yes, there are men, a few men that I know of. Some have said, Susie, please don't forget us men, because we have challenges too. And so I do plan to I'm doing volume 2 of Women of Spirit now. That will be published in October with some incredible stories. And then next year I'll take a look at Men of Substance, I'm going to call it. Men's stories, but I think it's going to be a tougher challenge because men aren't so comfortable with expressing themselves and their emotions, but I'm not sure which men would read. I think maybe the women would read the men's stories, although it would be at the same ethos for men to share, but also is the fact that they need it more almost because they don't talk to each other about their feelings. We have this sisterhood, we have this, we're genetically programmed to express and to nurture, and so we do have an advantage in that way. So watch this space, really. But I hope more men will, because it's not just a book for women. Because the other thing, of course, is that men could learn a lot about women by reading this book and relationships. And they can be quite safe in the knowledge that no women have used this book as retribution to get back at somebody. That's just so not what it's all about. And I hope ultimately that it's not just inspiring, but very uplifting.
Well, I know while I was reading the book, I didn't sense that at all, that it was against men in any sense of word. But what I saw was how women had to go through them to get back to themselves.
Yes.
It was like they didn't go through a man to get to themselves. And I don't recall at any time, they had to go through the men to get to themselves. Mm. And the way they did it, they owned it. They didn't hold the man responsible for their
exactly
weakness. And I thought that was awesome. They wasn't like blaming people, men, but men played a big part in revealing their weakness.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But I think that what you said, Susie, I think it would be very important to, to have this men of substance, because I think we still are in an era where men are still very much macho men, not realizing that there is a huge strength in getting in contact with a feminine side, because we both have both inside. So
Yes,
a
yes.
real man cannot be powerful if he's not in contact with his feminine side, because is where the richness, his wealth lies. And so how many men out there are in contact with a female part? I mean, spiritually, emotionally, there's
I think
so much, too much of this macho man.
they find it a lot harder. There is a wonderful American chap called Justin Baldoni, who has a website called wearemanenough.com. And it's all, he is trying to encourage men to reassess their perception of what it is to be masculine. So it's a wonderful thing he's doing, and it's worth a look.
Sounds good.
But there is a movement, as you mentioned, that I can say I came across in the last few years. Several men that they have that kind of mission, and anytime that I come across some of them, my heart really goes to them, because they are showing so much courage. And I'm saying this, and I really admire them, because we are still so behind. And I don't think I'm negative. I'm just
No, not at all.
very realistic, you know.
Yes, you are realistic.
And look at our lovely politicians. I won't mention any states here, no. But what do they show? Excuse me. You know, I mean.
I'm very happy to say that I had a lot of support from a number of men in getting the book, and just in general, all about women of spirit. There was support from men, because I mean I really like men. I've got men as great friends, and I feel that they need to understand maybe what we feel that it is to be a feminist. Because I think some men, they say, oh, she's such a feminist. Well, actually, the real meaning of that is nothing to do with hating men. It's not the opposite of being a misogynist. And so maybe just some clearer communication about where we all come from might be helpful.
You made a good point there, because I was talking to someone the other day, and I brought it to his attention. I was like, you seem to be only conscious of the strength of me. And it's like women be so strong all the time that they feel like that's all we are. Because we present it all the time, more so than our feminine side. We be more masculine in a lot of ways of how we handle and deal with life.
But I actually talk about when we step into our power, which we must, that doesn't mean to say that we lose our femininity or our nurturing side, because women are the nurturers. We don't have to burn our bras and be more man. We just don't have to do that. We can do this by being gentle and fair and warm and graceful, gracious. That's what we are.
And see, a lot of that is there, and we do be feminine. But when you have, let's say, a companion of strength, that allows more of your femininity to dominate your vibration.
Yes, right.
By yourself, you just can't just float it around and be safe. I mean, that's just being realistic. You have to, at some point, have yourself together in that standpoint that some of you is denied, whether you don't want it to be or not. I mean, just looking at you now, you look very beautiful and feminine. But when you have to stand up and go outside that door, something stands up inside of you. That's not having to stand up right now, because we're women, we're together. We can, you know, be wobbly, but when we go out that door, some of us have to, you know, we can't just stay like this.
No.
Because we have to walk in the world where people will find us vulnerable if we don't have that disposition. But a lot of men don't realize we would like to expose and release more of our feminine energy, but to a certain point, we have to have permission because we have a cover.
Yes, we cover up our, yes, because I think we have to cover up our vulnerability to certain people. We can expose it to each other, and that's what, in a way, the women in the book have. And that's a very brave thing to do, is to show vulnerability. But you're right, Linda, we can't afford to do that in the outside world and in the business world. In fact, Caprice said to me she knew somebody who was an absolute bulldog in the boardroom, a female woman, but her personal life is an absolute mess because of the relationships that she has. So we have this element where we can be confident in what we do, but our female elements and our feminine side and as a woman, we don't have that value or that worth. So it's kind of this, how do you grow one element when you're so busy pursuing your career? You know, you maybe, and again, this is something else that women do, and that's we put ourselves last.
I think there's something that possibly hasn't been said yet. You're right, Linda, saying you can't, when you are in the world out there, kind of being in your feminine all the time. And it's true. And I can tell you why, because this place, I mean, this world is not a safe space yet. Because just the fact you are born a woman, you have to pay attention 10 times more as if you were born a boy. Yep. It's just a fact. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that boys are not violated and abused and all the rest of it, because we know there's a long story of that too. But generally speaking, a woman is more vulnerable. So you have to really, I think any woman intuitively and unconsciously feels this. So you have to be on your guard all the time. It's just a fact. Unfortunately, we are still in kind of the Middle Ages of, if we talk about the humankind story on this planet, we are still in dark times. And until this is swept away and we change this, it's very difficult I think, for women to be able to expose their femininity or vulnerability, the nurturing aspect that is instinctual in us. We have it, we all have it. But to be able to show it, you know, being safe, not being misunderstood by men.
That's what I'm talking about, misunderstood, yeah.
I don't think we are there yet. I'm sorry. This is my take. We have to change this. We have to make this world a safe place first.
But I also think we need to be mindful. A friend of mine said not so long ago that she was going through a pretty ropey time, and she just pulled herself up and said, actually, I'm just lucky to be a woman in a Western world with a roof over my head. Because what we're talking about, I think, is in certain areas and cultures. When I posted on the Women of Spirit Facebook group, there's a girl who is speaking out against female circumcision, because, you know, there's a whole other stories and circumstance of women who They don't have the challenges that we do, but, you know, they are living in hell, absolute hell.
You see, that's what I like about your book. This is one of the reasons why I brought this up. Men don't really quite understand why we are the way we are. It's not that we want to, you know, be less of the femininity, gentleness, but it's like it's not an option. When they meet us, we're coming with all that we've been.
Oh my goodness, yes.
But if you give us permission, you will see the flower that God has actually made us to be.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to put it.
And your book, that's why I mentioned this. If men was reading your book, they would have a better understanding that you shouldn't take everything so personally. This is a reason why I haven't just melted into you yet.
Oh, yes, very, very true.
They will understand. We just can't just act like, oh, he's here, yay.
My hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gabriella, if people want to get in touch with you, read your book, I'm going to say books because that is your book too. You're in there. And your website and all that you do, how do they contact you?
I have a website called flyinginspiration.com. Flying, like the act of flying, FLYING. Inspiration, like having an inspiration, written together.com. I hope to inspire women and men. And for me, it was a turning point when I realized a few years ago that actually I became clear about what is that drives me. And I love men, by the way. I always did.
Me too.
I always will do. And I realized for me, it was quite an insight, an opening for me to realize that I do the work I do because I want to give back to men, real women empowered. That doesn't mean they are in their masculine, but they are empowered by their femininity. And so there's all to gain for both of us, men and women, you know, if we can just be in our core essence, you know, core energy, in freedom and feeling safe. It would be lovely for men too.
And then couldn't we focus on what's really important, and that's the children, and bringing them up in a safe and an emotionally safe place.
Balance.
Yeah.
Susie, if anybody want to catch up with you and your beautiful art, your book, your life, how do they get in touch with you?
Oh, well, I have a Women of Spirit website, which is all one word, womenofspirit.co.uk. I also have a website of the boudoir photography, which is mysensuality.co.uk. And my contact details are on there. We have a wonderful, supportive and inspiring Facebook group, which is Women of Spirit on Facebook. But will I be able to give you the links to all of these for when the interview goes out?
Sure, because it's going to show up again anyway. People.
Lovely. And the book is available on Amazon.com and Amazon.co.uk. And the reviews on Amazon.co.uk are all 5 stars, which I'm just amazed by. I do want to start to go global, Linda. So if there is anybody watching this who has a story to tell in the States or anywhere, I will travel. Have camera, we'll travel. And, you know, let's get this out there. That's what I really want to do. And so bless you for having us on the show tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Definitely have to get in touch with you. And I'm sure that when this airs, they will definitely be able to connect with you.
Super. That would be wonderful.
Gabriella, you are on the Truth Will Set You Free show. Give us a truth to remember you by.
Oh, well, I have to mention the last line of my book, which is life is a journey of No, sorry, I gone blank. Gosh. Life is an adventure of the heart. The mind is only a helper, and the soul is the adventurer.
Love it. Susie.
I'm just looking up some words of wisdom.
You're on the Truth Will Set You Free show. Give us a truth.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love this. To truly inspire, we must be truly authentic. And so first we need to look deep inside ourselves, see what needs changing and get help to make these changes, which I referred to before. And then with the authentic you in place, you will be able to inspire and you will enable change in those who also seek it. And so, and it's better late than never, because it's taken me until I'm 60 to do that. So
wow.
Better late than never.
Oh, we're 60. Hey, ladies, it was such a joy to have such two beautiful spirits on my show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you,
And
Linda.
come back anytime, okay?
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.